I encourage everyone to take a moment and breathe and take a tea cheers with a Jiri tea. A Jiri tea recognizes the beauty in shared stories and shared opportunities. Ajiri sources award-winning tea from Kenya, employs women in the region to handcraft the labels, and sends 100% of the profits back to the region to support orphan education. Save 10% on your order of Kenyan teas and coffee with the code BeautifullyHuman at ajiritea.com. AJIRIT.com. Tea mugs up. Hello, and welcome to the Beautifully Human podcast. I'm Nick Sheesby. In this podcast, I speak with beautiful humans from all around the world, sharing with you their incredible stories, revealing the power in every human story, to spread love and humanity to a world that is in desperate need of it, to show that we can all connect in beautiful ways no matter where we come from or what we look like. What you will find out is that we are all beautifully human. Let's all be beautifully human.
Hello?
Hey, Paul.
Hey, there you are.
Yeah,
Is Zoom now the Kleenex of
definitely is.
internet
Man.
communication? Let's see.
Man, it would have been, if you had your crystal ball, it would have been nice to know to invest in Zoom before this year started.
Oh my goodness. You aren't kidding. Yeah, I checked out your podcast yesterday while I was doing some console programming, so
Sweet. I
it
appreciate
was
that.
super fun. It was the last one you just did, so that was cool.
Yeah.
Good stories.
Yeah, it was with my good buddy Jason.
It's been our motto is time and talent. That's all we have right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So might as well use it to the best of our abilities.
Absolutely. So, I love you guys' mission.
Oh, thank you.
I've read it so many times, and I just think it's such a cool. It just sums it up perfectly.
Yep.
Simple. We exist to empower and heal roadies and their families by providing resources, services tailored to the struggle of the touring lifestyle. And I mean, those words, empower and heal. Man, I love that. It's so beautiful.
That's definitely the lovely and beautiful Courtney Klimson. That's her talents right there, with help from another great friend, Brian Campbell, who came alongside of us back in March to make this real. I had a kind of a mountaintop experience with him. I was out in LA doing a gig, and he took me up to the sign to hang out and watch the fog roll in over the hill, which I didn't know was a thing. And once he hears the story, he's like, I'm going to help you do this. Brian Campbell's a serial entrepreneur. He worked at a startup in LA. He was at Apple for a while. He was at Beats, headphone project for a while.
Oh, wow.
Now he's in Nashville with his wife, who's a beautician. And he's still doing design work and running 8,000 businesses. But yeah, he's like, you guys have something, you have to do something with it. And that was back in March, when it was just an idea and a paper that Courtney had read. Or had written, which she's not really a writer. She's never been a writer to me. She's always more of a doer and a leader and a inspirer, a caregiver to all of our friends and family that are on the road. But yeah, so that kind of was the second moment, the atom split, if you would.
Yeah.
Before that, she kind of wrote a 30-page what this life looks like as a touring wife, as a wife of a touring, sound engineer.
Sure.
And that turned into about a 10-page kind of, these are the areas that need attention.
Wow.
Mental health, family relations, communication, safety, which is now turned into 30 people working on those kind of 5 or 6, 4 or 5 pillars. So
that's incredible.
It's great to see an idea have enough merit that people want to spend time on it for free and care and talk into it and, be along us as we have built this over the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Candace Rooks came alongside us immediately. She's on our board and on what we're calling our staff, kind of the people who do day-to-day stuff. We completed a awareness campaign, as we called it, late summer. and jumped into fundraising immediately. Courtney drew up a capital campaign with help of individuals who spoke into it, 4 or 5 people. Turned that into a usable one-page, PDF that we can send out to sponsors who want to get involved. And then
Yeah.
just lots of friends who we've come up with who are now in positions of power, using their company's resources donated
Yeah.
to help us out even more. So March, when we were moving out of New York City and had everything in the back of a moving vehicle again, kind of fleeing
Right.
that area because everything shut down and
Totally.
money burns fast there.
Yes.
As you know.
Oh yeah.
We just decided to come to Niles and be here and work on the clinic full time. We actually thought it was over when we landed here. We're like, that's it,
Right.
as the rest of the life was over.
Yeah.
But Candace and Mike Fiallo, Mike's on our board and staff as well. He's director of development. Just kind of kicked us in the butt. I mean, they were like, this needs to happen more now than ever. And we kind of thought they were crazy, but it was like, yeah, you're kind of right.
Yeah.
And it just caught steam over the summer. So, and then you throw in all the personal struggles of being in this time period as having 2 personalities. So
Totally.
one personality is out there supermaning, and the other personality is going, holy crap, how do we make it to at least next July or so?
Oh man, right.
So,
yeah, and I mean, this year I think, it's like the touring lifestyle, and the struggles is like, yeah, I think we all, I can speak for most people that I know that tour, that we're really good at being gone. We're good at being out there. We're good at spending many, many nights away from family and loved ones.
Yeah.
And then this year, it's like, holy shit, man, we're home.
Home.
We're
I've
very
never
much
slept in
home.
my bed this long since I was 18.
Right. Yeah.
This is an anomaly.
Yeah, and it's like I've heard, and it's so sad that people just aren't getting along. People just don't know who they've been with because they get used to their life at home. If they're the person that's been home, and now it's like, oh, I have to have this person home. And
yeah.
So what an important year to start off into something like this with.
Yes, absolutely.
The whole world shifted on touring and what the landscape of it looked like. Yeah. Well, I mean, coming from my perspective, or from my story, I truly appreciate the work you all do.
Thank you.
I'm like in the middle of like 27 to 28 months sober now.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, and it's been a hell of a journey, and one that when I was on the road and I was drinking massively, it was so dark and so scary, and I just let myself go to the point of I was at the beginning stages of liver failure.
Wow.
So that was when I heard about the Roadie clinic. I was like, this is incredible. And I know there's other organizations, but I was like, a good friend of mine told me about you all, and I was just like, man, I love it. It's new. You're doing such important work. So coming from like somebody who lived in massive darkness on the road and almost died in it, I cannot thank you enough for your serving people that way.
Thank you.
I think it's absolutely unbelievably beautiful.
Thank you. I'd be remiss not to ask, during the darkest periods, what would make it the easiest to reach out to someone like us? What would be the slipperiest way to be like, shoot up the flare, I need help? Because I know a lot of us are very we're as a roadie, you're good where your feet are. Like you drop any of us in any city and we'll find breakfast, get a coffee, get to the shoe store if we need to, and make it to load in, pretty easily. But trying to break down that, we're all tough as tanks.
Yeah.
And function every day no matter what would have made it slippery for you to be like, if it's one button to push, what would that look like to get help?
Man, that's a really good question.
You can simmer on it. I'm now flipping it back around and R&Ding you.
No,
So
it's all good. I love it. I love it because,
you have experience.
yeah, 100%. And, I'll think on it as I'm speaking on
Perfect.
it.
Yeah, I'm sure the right answer will come to you.
Yeah, so I I have kind of the reason I started into this podcast was I remember the first time I shared my story,
Mm-hmm.
which some people knew who were close to me.
Right.
Anybody that had toured with me knew me as the crazy
That guy.
party guy. Like I
Yeah.
still have people that haven't seen me in that long that have no
Mm-hmm.
idea my new reputation. you know,
And you're the second person I've met that has a history that I would never have known. And then seeing on the backside, it's like, this is beautiful.
yeah. I mean, it's pretty gnarly.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I remember I went to a TEDx about
Wow.
it was a powerful on powerful women. It was
Wow.
and this woman who was a singer for a band called Ariel for Hire,
Mm.
she spoke about her struggles with her husband who's in her band and his alcoholism and
Mm.
how he didn't come out and wouldn't say anything, and then like it got really really bad, everything was about to fall apart, and like I was sitting there, like I didn't do the typical sobriety steps. I
Uh-huh.
didn't do a program. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of took it on my own. I went to a one-on-one counselor in
Mm.
my small town in Ohio that I grew up in,
Mm-hmm.
and it that turned out to be unbelievable. I got matched with just the most wonderful woman named MJ. She was like in this small town, midwestern town, which I know you're
Mm-hmm.
you're
Mm-hmm.
very well acquainted with.
Very much, yeah.
But she's like a mid 60s woman who's got purple
Mm.
hair and loves music, and I mean it couldn't have been more perfect. And
It sounds like
like,
you're describing our resident Niles counselor. She's amazing.
oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's just that person where I'm like, I don't know why you ended up in Ashland, Ohio, but it was for
Like,
people like
thank you.
me, and I
Yes, yeah,
thank you for being that person
yeah.
that I was able to come to and bare my soul, and then also talk about all the cool music you saw in the 70s, which made me
Yes.
very jealous.
Yes, I say that I was born. Like most of us who see that were born like 10 years too late or something.
Exactly. I know. I mean, that puts me in mind of my brother had a sticker on his drum set, which I'm sure you did as well, of like,
Mhm.
if it's too loud, you're too old.
Yes, all
Yeah.
those
And then I saw a
memories.
sticker one time that said, I may be old, but I got to see all the cool bands. And I said,
Yes.
oh, okay, you win on that
Uh,
one.
Living our
um,
Wild West back then.
yeah. So like I saw her speak and I was like, okay, I haven't come out on,
Mhm.
the social medias because I didn't want to tell my story for the pats on the back. I didn't want
Yeah,
it for the
no,
like, hey, nice job. Like I
no.
didn't necessarily need that. What I wanted to do was reach out to those people like myself sitting in a back lounge of a bus
Boom.
till 6 in the morning with a
Yep.
beer, and then you hear the first person wake up, and I run to my bunk so they
Yep.
didn't see that I
Didn't
was
know.
still up drinking, and then I continued
Yeah.
drinking in my bunk.
Oh.
I wanted to reach out to those people who not even on tour either, like those people that are
Mm.
doing that and then going to work, like anybody that was struggling and, was drowning in this, and just
Yeah.
it's overwhelming when you're in it, and it's insanely hard to think of yourself in that way of, man, I'm a massive alcoholic.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard to say that about yourself,
Of
to
course.
to sit there and look and say, this bottle controls me, this
Hmm.
can controls me, this
Yeah.
fill in the blank of whatever your favorite drink is, that this
Because we're stronger
controls
than
me.
that in our heads.
Yeah, yeah, because in my mind I'm like, I'm still functioning, I'm getting really
Yeah.
awesome gigs,
Paycheck keeps coming.
yeah, the paycheck keeps
Yeah.
coming. And so I finally shared my story, and I got really amazing like, obviously like people doing the like golf clap and saying, nice job.
Nice job.
You're so powerful. And, it
Yeah.
wasn't for that. But then a few people reached out and said, you know, man, like a good friend of mine who I toured with, one of the first tours I went back out on, he was on it and I hadn't seen him in years, but we were heavy partiers together. We had a
Mm-hmm.
blast. Like we were just trouble,
Yep. Yep.
and he just saw me and all I did was, he's like, how you been, man? And I told him my journey. I was 3 months sober and I was back on a metal tour, which, is crazy. Just like
Yeah.
baptism by fire. I was like, well, if I can do it, I can do it. If I can't, then I'll
You'll
know
know.
immediately.
Yep.
And so I just told him my story and he reached out finally once I posted this and he said, hey man, like I just want you to know that because I saw you on the road just talking about your journey with everything. He's like, I knew I needed to get sober, and so hearing your story made me do my first tour sober. It gave me the strength to say, man, if Nick can do it, I can do it. And he goes, so I just hit my 1 year sober last week, and I was like, oh my
Wow.
god, dude, that's incredible. Like I didn't even know that little impact that I had just by talking to him and seeing how well I was doing touring sober for the first time. So that next tour he took, he was sober for the first time. And now,
Nice.
he's working his way towards 2 years sober now. And, like more people have started to reach out
Mm-hmm.
since I've been posting. Cause once I did it the one time, I was like, okay, there's empowerment in this. I don't care that people are going to say, like, of course it's going to come with it. And because it is a beautiful thing when somebody can stand up to
Mm-hmm.
something that controlled them and move forward,
Move forward.
so I understand when people want to say like, nice job. I get it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I've had a lot of people just reach out and say, man, I'm really struggling. What do I do? And,
Yeah.
I just talk to them and what I tell them from the start is you did something that I never did.
Mm-hmm.
You came out and you admitted that you're struggling to someone. You did that. I didn't. It took
Mm-hmm.
me literally turning completely yellow into my eyes with jaundice and
Wow.
getting put into a hospital in Cleveland and being told that I might not have another night on this earth. That's what it
Wow.
took for me to say, holy shit, dude, I have to stop.
Yeah.
I have to, like, I put it in my mind of like, if I ever have a drink again of any alcoholic substance, I will literally fall over dead.
Yeah.
That's where I put it in my mind. So for me, I knew that, I knew I was having trouble with it, but I never took that step. People would talk to me. I had friends, of course, that would say, dude, you're headed towards disaster. And I was just like, yeah, right, dude, I'm invincible. I'm good. There's no way anything bad can happen to me. I've done this crazy thing and
Yeah.
I survived it. I woke up in a bush in Boise, Idaho, and then I made it to my bed in my hotel and it was
Yeah.
fine.
It
Like,
was fun. It
yeah,
all
it
turned
was
out okay.
fun. Yeah, I'm all good and I'm still at my gig at 9 in the morning.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say, oh man, like it's one of those hard battles. Like and then I also, on the flip side of it, I have friends who will reach out and say, hey man, I know a friend of mine is struggling.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do?
Yeah.
And, my best answer to them was when you're in the middle of it, you don't admit it. You don't see it. You don't
Yeah.
want to, you don't want to admit that you're struggling with this. So I was like, obviously be there for them. Reach out and say like, hey man, I see what you're up to. If you ever want to talk about it, be there, but don't push it because, you know, a lot of people aren't going to budge on the
Yeah.
fact that they don't have a drinking problem
Of course.
or a substance problem. And then like my friend Jason in the podcast that you checked out,
Mm-hmm.
he was the one, he had his moment far before I knew him, but he just always said like, you're gonna hit a wall, and when you hit that wall, I'm gonna be there for you.
Yes.
And he
Yes.
was one of the massive helpers in that because I hit that wall and I called him and he was there, and I was like,
Hmm.
it's almost like I don't want to like damn anybody to that, but it's like it's almost that where it's like be there and like take little pokes, but like don't push it, because it might
Hmm.
actually make it worse for that person
Yeah.
if you're like, hey man, you're doing this wrong, or hey, like you got to stop, because when you're told you're doing something wrong all the time, you're not necessarily going to want to listen
Correct
to
it.
that,
No.
you know
I know that
so
feeling.
I think what you all are doing of just the empowerment,
Hmm.
I think that's a massive part to this, is like letting someone know that it's safe to come there and
Yeah.
and tell their story, and let them
Yes.
know that, dude, or not even dude, oh, I guess you can call ladies dudes too, but like let them know that it's a safe place, that you're there to help and listen, and when they're crashing out the worst in
Hmm.
the gnarliest way, that you're gonna be there,
Yeah.
and just provide that safety net, because I think a lot of people, I mean, I know I wasn't giving myself a safety net. I love
Yeah.
chaos in life, and that was my
Mm.
chaos, that
Yeah.
was why I was doing it.
You
I
could
did.
control it, the chaos.
Yeah, I love controlled chaos. I mean, that's
You
kind
know.
of part of our job,
Yeah.
and so
Exactly.
I mean, that's a lot of our job, is controlling
Fooled him
chaos.
again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think what, like, just that, like, that word empower and heal, it's like this is a place where you can be you, and you're right in what you're thinking, and
Hmm.
we're here to help when
Yeah.
when you hit that hardest part of your life. I'm going to be there to
Yeah.
to to meet you in the middle, like, cuz I mean, it goes into a lot of what the world is lacking right now, in my opinion, is
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
humanity. It's
Yeah.
like you look at the man or woman on the street that so many people pass by. I'm guilty of it as well, but
Hmm.
like what that person really wants, of course they want food, they want
Hmm.
something, but like they want to be human.
Yeah.
Like I, every addict, every homeless person, every alcoholic, they have a family. They have people that
Hmm.
love them,
Hmm.
you know, that are truly heartbroken in their life because of what this disease has taken on for them,
Hmm.
And when you see people that way, it's like, meet them in the middle. Let them know that you understand that they're having trouble, and
Hmm.
give them that empowerment, that humanity back. Like that's when I started to feel good about being sober. Is I had a really good friend of mine now, but when I met him on that tour, I went, the first night I was out with this band, we all went to a bar, and obviously the the age old question of what you drinking, man, I'll get it, and I
Mm.
just said water, and
Yeah.
it came up like, whoa, what's this?
Yeah.
And so then I told a little bit of my story, and then one guy really gravitated to me,
Mm.
and he just said, "Hey man, that's so rad. Like congratulations on that.
Hmm.
Like anytime we're out, if you're struggling, just come talk to me, man. Like don't worry about
Nice.
what anybody else says. Like just hang with me. Like come with me to the bar, and if you need to leave, I'll leave with you. Like I don't care.
Nice.
I'll go back to the bus with you." And like that to me, I was like, "Oh, it is like I can be Nick as like a cool guy or like a fun guy to hang out with without drinking." But
Yeah.
I didn't have that identity.
Wow.
I didn't have that for 7 years, I
Wow.
was just the crazy ass party dude, And so like truly when I felt human again, of like, oh, because I can out like it's not because I can out drink everyone that people want to hang
Right.
out with me, or that I
Right.
do just weird stuff at the end of the night.
Yeah.
It was like, oh no, like this person has just empowered me to see that in myself again.
And to be
Because
you, to
to
be a new, better, real you.
yeah, exactly. And so I think that empowerment and that healing, is like first you empower someone and then like then you start to heal, cuz that's what people need to know is like, dude, we all struggle.
Yeah.
Put in whatever struggle it is, like some people struggle with other stuff, other issues. Everyone has struggles. But to
Yeah.
know that you are powerful in those struggles and that you're powerful enough to beat those struggles, I know that's what I would have needed to hear. And I'm not blaming
Perfect.
anyone for not saying exactly
No.
those words because they
Yeah.
probably did. I just wasn't hearing them in the right scope at that
Exactly.
point. I had a different lens that I was looking out of.
It
And
was
then,
completely what you made it to be because
yeah,
that was the control of it as well.
yeah. And so, I mean, it was like I hadn't even voiced that to my buddy Alex, who
Mhm.
gave me that empowerment of like, hey, man, it's cool. Like, you're good, man. Like, you don't need that or whatever.
Right.
And I finally, one morning, I was just sitting here, and it was after I wrote that piece, and I just wrote him, and I just said, I owe you so much in life, and owe is a weird word too. As I said it, I was like, the gratitude I have to you, I can't even express. Of like, you just truly gave me my life back when
Mhm.
you said that, and I know you had no idea. Like, it wasn't your ultimate goal to like give me life back. I don't think he knew the gravity of it.
Yeah.
And it was just so like I'm tearing up now just even thinking about it. It was like it was so beautiful, just a natural, yeah, you're good, man. That's all good. No worries. And it was
Right.
like, man, so I think, when you see somebody in that realm and, like especially on the road, it's like I would shift the way I wouldn't talk to someone about their problems. I would just sit with them in it and
Yeah.
and tell stories of like, if you see someone who's doing that drinking in the back lounge till 6 a.m., like maybe lose some sleep and, talk to them about an experience that you had with someone at the clinic and tell
Mhm.
them a story of beautiful power of just like pump it in their ears of like, man, yeah, like it's all good. You struggle, that's fine.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
hey,
There's an
here's
alternative.
this really beautiful story, of
Hmm.
this person. Like, just kind of like positive empowerment of others to show that there is power in being sober. Because I think a lot of people, we talked about identity in touring. There's identity in your partying,
Hmm.
as lame as that sounds
Yeah.
to say
It,
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 but there is,
there
like
is.
you get that persona, and that's who you become. So I would say that would be that's how I will start to approach people. And also, I was talking to a friend of mine, um, and I was like, honestly, man, like full sobriety doesn't have to happen immediately. For me, it did.
Yeah.
Instantly, it had to happen, or I
You
was
knew it had
dead.
to happen.
But it's like if you're struggling, like take take 2 days off, take a day off a week. Take challenge yourself to,
Hmm.
even in the day to day, challenge yourself not to drink till 5 o'clock. If you start at noon,
Yeah.
start at a normal hour where you would have happy hour. Like
Walk it down.
give yourself those steps to get yourself there. It's like you
Right.
don't instantly have to be like, "Ugh, I don't like drinking anymore." I know I love
Yeah.
drinking. That's why I
Of
will
course.
never do it again. I absolutely love it. I know some
Yeah.
people who will say they don't like being drunk, but I loved it. That was a lot of the trouble with it. So it's
Yeah.
like, those little steps of like, you know, or if you're out at a bar on tour with somebody or just in general, and I just say like, yeah, you don't need to drink tonight. Like let's have a sober night together,
Hmm.
and like just be there for somebody who's working away from it, or like let them know that the power's in their hands. Because once I knew that it was my power that was going to beat what I was
Hmm.
going through, that's when the healing began.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, that in a long routed answer. That's that's it is. It goes into what empowerment and healing. That's why I love those two words because I
Nice.
hadn't
Yeah.
felt empowered in a very long time, and then once I felt that, I started to heal.
Absolutely. I've seen that in this season as well. Talking about losing identity is it took 6 months to kind of go. There's a joke around our house when we had a condo in Jersey. I would do the plumbing on it since we owned the condo, and it was usually again the day off in between two legs or something, and I'd be under the sink and I'd yell to Courtney, "Do you know who I am?" And no, I'm so and so's modern June. It kept like every time I had to fix the plumbing, it was a little higher artist over the
Right.
years. But there was a lot of that coming out of it this year of just being like, who really is Paul, and
Yeah.
what is what does his soul really desire?
Right.
And then that led to recognizing when the burnout happened, and that can be as devastating. The burnout can be as devastating as all these other issues that we go through,
Totally.
because then you're zombie walking through stuff and taking things because you have to,
Right.
and not really. I kind of told some friends it felt like we were operating at 5% of our capacity for 10 years because we got
Yeah.
good at it.
Right.
And that goes into the drinking and partying too, of we can do this and get away with it and still function
Yeah. Yeah.
because we've
Totally.
tempered ourselves to it.
Yeah. It's just another night,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah,
another
just another
sluggish
morning.
day, but we figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, it is. Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I'm super grateful to talk to you and just
Oh, thank you.
give you my thanks for
Mm.
everyone out there who you will touch. I mean, it is beautiful work, and there's so much need for it. So, just the
Yeah.
fact that you all see that, and like what a beautiful identity to find too is,
Mm-hmm.
being there for people. I can't tell you how enriched I've been just by speaking with people or
Yep.
checking in weekly with someone on
Yes.
their progress. I mean, that has been so much more important than any band I've ever worked for or anything I've
Oh
ever
yeah.
done. And it's
Yeah.
just, it's that human connection of, man, we are all constantly going to struggle
Yep.
on
Every
everything,
day.
anything, every day.
Yep.
We're all going to do it. But also, it is a really miraculous and unbelievably beautiful thing that we woke up today
Mm-hmm. To start.
to start with.
Yeah.
That all of us in the world woke up. And I've said this on another podcast, but I'm going to talk about it because I want people to know
Mm.
this word. I don't know.
Okay.
Have you ever heard the word sonder?
I've heard it before, but no. What's the juice behind it?
All right. So I worked with a band and they had it on a t-shirt. And I said,
Mm.
well, it's a really cool t-shirt. What is sonder? And they said, just look it up. And I said, all right. And the general, I mean, it's very eloquently written in the actual, verbiage. But
Mm-hmm.
basically, it is like I'm looking out my window right now and there's a car driving by.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever is driving that car has just as extensive of a life as I do. They
Yes.
have friends, they have family, they have a whole world of life that is just as intricate as mine. And they, even if they're just background players in the movie of my life, their life is just as important as mine because
Mm-hmm.
they're a living, breathing human.
Mm-hmm.
And when I read that, I was just like, man, how many times do we just like walk by people and just, not even think about it? But when you start to think about every single person you walk by, of like, man, yeah, like their life is just as significant as mine and they have
Mm-hmm.
just as much depth, and there's people that love them. They have struggles. It's like it's a really beautiful humanizing way to look at people. It's
Yeah.
just, yeah, you have so much life that I may never know, but
Oh,
you have it.
yes.
And then I have to respect you because you have that life.
Yes. I guess I'm a Sonderer then.
Yeah. I knew. I mean, I knew you would resonate with that one.
It's a big one. I mean, the best compliment, the best feedback. Once someone gets kind of through the couple of weeks that Courtney can help them, and get to a resolution. That's what Courtney's big thing is. As a hub, she wants to make sure that where we get people to, if it's another organization that's helping with us, partnering with us, is to make sure you get an outcome that you're satisfied with. And obviously that has some gray area, but just knowing that we're not just sending you and didn't work, sorry, like come back, we're going to be creative about the next step.
Yeah.
But the response is always someone just listened. Just someone listened to
Totally.
me is incredible. And you're like, okay. And then the hope, the magic of hope has really been overarching to all of this, just by it's weird when I'm destroying walls and I'm feeling like in the building itself, the actual physical building, taking stuff down, doing demo, and
Yeah.
I picture people going into what's going to become the family loft, and I picture the staff sitting around the table in the third floor conference room and discussing these creative ideas how to help people in our situation. And so I dwell in that a lot, and just kind of let the future ghosts
Yeah.
wander through the building as I'm working. And there's just such a direct connection to, we're building kind of this roadie hangout place.
Yeah.
And I hope people who pass through when we're open and fully operational will reference that experience, those either a day or afternoon, or if they're in for 3 or 7 days. I mean, all the question marks on our map end up being answered by somebody who comes to the table, or it's like we just kind of let things simmer.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, when people ask us direct questions about how we're going to operate, it's kind of like, it's in development,
Right.
we're letting the road kind of play itself out. No one's done this type of thing before.
Totally.
In this style. But yeah, I mean, to have a place, I mean, we're right off of 8090. We've all passed by the South Bend exit sign a billion times between Detroit and Chicago. And our goal this year, my personal goal this year, but back before COVID hit, when we did our first demo week in March, was to have at least 2 roadies stay in the building. And the secondary goal was to have a tour bus pull up out front and everybody pile out and come in. And we would part of the idea is to start with a family meal around a table, and Courtney's naming the back of the building restaurant table 13 because 12 bunks and a bus driver.
Yes.
All those positions are just as important.
Absolutely.
People pile in, have the dinner, and then kind of click off this a la carte menu of, do you want to go kayaking? There's this trail that goes from here to South Bend. It's 25 miles long.
Beautiful.
We're going to have, accounts at the 24-hour gym across the street from us. And those owners are beautiful. The city has come around this entire thing so nicely.
Yeah.
I can't thank them enough. I mean, we always kind of think we're going to be going at it alone, but, we're closing on the building, and the realtor's like, hey, if you ever need help with anything, it's like,
so
well,
good.
come paint walls.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that good touchy feely, but back to the back to the hope statement, and then empowering is someone who's been here. We would love, this is obviously projecting way down the road in the future, but you're now, after someone has passed through our building and gets to experience what it is and what we're designing it to be. The next week they're on a different tour and they see somebody in there. I would love for people to word of mouth, just be like, you got to give these guys a call. You reach out to them. They're going to, I had this and this and this happen. And it's been proving it in the people we've been helping softly to start. I mean, we really aren't open, but the work is being done. So
yeah,
that's the only way I would want it to grow. I don't want it to ever be anything it can't be or can't. I don't want to say anything we can do that we can't accomplish, because that's of no service to anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, just this feeling that there's more. We're building more.
Ah, dude, I love that so much. Like, just hearing how people are giving, and I truly believe that when you start into something, and it just proved it when you're saying that, it's people want to help. People want to give back, and even if they didn't know how, if they see a little inkling of like, oh yeah, like your real estate agent, how can I help? It's like, yeah, man, come paint walls, and it's like, sure, yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, and that's like, their way to give back. And I just think it's so beautiful how you worded all that, you know. And then
Thank you.
table 13, I mean, I have
Hmm.
a special affinity for 13 because I was born,
Oh,
I have, my birthday's March 13th, so I'm
nice.
313, and I turned 13 and 30 and 35 on Friday the 13th. So
Oh
I
my goodness. That's incredible.
yeah,
I love 13.
yeah,
It's, I don't know. I mean, possibly because we're, the outcasts of the,
yeah,
it lends well to our black sheep,
yep.
as roadies, uniform.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, that is so beautiful. I love that you're starting it around food as well, because what a
Hmm.
beautiful love language.
Hmm.
You know, like get a good meal, like especially on an off day, get a
Yeah.
really nice meal
Home
where
cooked.
everyone can get together. And
Yep.
I mean, you know as well as I do. I mean, it's a dysfunctional family. Like you see
Hmm.
some people in passing, and you could go a whole tour without really truly speaking to somebody,
Of
even
course.
if you're on the same bus, you know. And it's
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
the thought of, yeah, pull up, we'll make this beautiful dinner, and then like, yeah, let's all go kayaking or whatever. And
Yeah.
you know, I think it's beautiful too of like, you know, you're allowing it to breathe into, you know, personalizing it, which is such a
Hmm.
massive thing because everybody's journey is not the same. You know,
No,
like
not at all.
no, not one person's journey is going to be the same, or their
Hmm.
need or their desire, or, you
Yeah.
know, like what they want out of that process
Hmm.
is totally different. And some people just have no idea, so they need the structure, you know. They
Yeah.
want the
Yeah.
structure of like, please just help, I don't know what to do. And
Yeah.
that's fine too, because, you know, like none of us really know what
No,
you know, none of
we
us
have
really know.
ideas.
Yeah, we have ideas of what's going to help, but you
Inklings.
know, it's like
Yeah.
that's such a beautiful, like I'm just picturing it as this like beautiful haven just to come and
Oh,
have, you know, just good energy and good vibes, and you know,
mhm,
really truly just digging in and like sense of community and
mhm.
being seen and heard, you know. And
Yes.
what a I mean, so like empowering and healing, man. Like
That was the biggest point of having an actual physical place was
yeah,
we want people to picture it after they leave and not just be, a website and
right.
a black hole to somewhere.
Yeah, oh, I love that so much. I think that's so neat. I mean, I will constantly tell people about this,
Thank you.
and I can't
We
wait
love
till
it.
I can come through and see
Absolutely.
everything and
Oh,
meet you. Like, man, this is I've truly enjoyed speaking with you.
oh, thank
Um,
you. Oh, it's so much fun. I think in a good way. I mean, obviously, we all felt the whole losing your identity immediately, and like you said, like we've all developed a dynamic that we can exist with our partners, our loved ones, in a weird quasi way where we don't. Courtney and I don't celebrate our birthdays typically. It's not like a big deal with surprises and cakes and presents. We've kind of, like I told many people about much of our life, you cauterize it. You just kind of go, well, when you're with me in the next city, we'll just go out to dinner or something.
right.
Same with kind of leaving home, like when you go back to visit parents or what have you, and you just saying goodbye is so hard because you don't know when you'll be back. It's fitting everything in between,
Yeah,
even down to doctor's appointments and stuff when you're off for
totally.
that one day. And it's like, well, I got to get to everybody.
Yeah,
And if anything comes up that disrupts kind of that home life for your partner, it can be very, uh, again, you almost have to desensitize yourself from that longing to run back home immediately and take care of whatever it is.
right.
So,
Yeah, it is, man. Yeah, like, you know, my partner and I this summer, when we knew we had the whole summer, we ended up buying a van and traveling because
yes.
it was the first time that we had a window of, hey, we have months when
Yes.
we have nothing. You know,
Yes.
sure we could have gotten other jobs, you know, if we
Hmm.
felt like doing that, but
Hmm.
yeah, it was the first time looking into that. Yeah, we can plan something, or
Yeah.
you know, kind of plan. Like we didn't,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
route it like a tour, but we just kind of knew the hot spots we wanted to see,
Of
and we
course.
went, you know. And it was like it was the first time for me in holy hell, like a decade, that I was
Hmm.
like, yeah, I have time to just be me and do
Who
what I
you
want
are.
to do, you know.
Yeah. And have unabandoned discovery and wherever you want to go, the wind blows.
Yeah, it was nice to travel that way of, we found a beach in Washington that we
Mm.
parked beside, and then she would wake up and go, can we stick around? And I was like, yeah, yeah, we don't
Oh,
have to go
you're feeling it.
anywhere.
You're feeling
Yeah, yeah,
it.
great. You want to get the hell out of here right now? Cool, let's go. But if
Let's
you
go.
want to stick around for a week, whatever,
Yeah.
and it was such a freeing experience traveling that way
Yeah.
as opposed to, the rigorous travel schedule that
Yeah.
tour presents.
And then if you do have a low one that out with you, you're trying to like fit in the stuff in the morning where you have to go in for call.
Right.
It's like, oh, let's go try this little restaurant. Or you have it one day off and get to do, a trip to whatever from the city you're based out of at that point. And
Yeah.
but you have that's it. That's that one day, and you're not really out of the travel mindset. As I tell younger people coming up in the industry, it's like you're working the moment you leave. You're working the moment you pack your suitcase. The moment you leave that door, you are working. You are in
Right.
someone else's time, essentially.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, and I'm sure you've had this a million times as well, but I have people that just don't understand the tour life and
no,
they go, man, you're just traveling all the time. That would be amazing. Get me a
yeah,
gig. And I
yeah,
go, dude, just
no,
keep keep yourself out of it, man. Like
yeah.
it's
It definitely chooses off of us. Like when people are like, "Oh, how'd you decide to be a modern engineer?" It's like it chose me. It's you bounce around and then you just then you find yourself standing in the same spot and the same gig for 20 years, and you're like, "How did I get here?" It's
yeah. Yeah.
you know,
So how did you get into it?
playing music as a kid,
Okay.
bands in high school, theater. My older brother and uncle were in the high school theater, and I would tag along as a 8-year-old and watch them do what they do. Um, and then just playing in bands, a lot of DIY in our hometown, small town of 4,000 people in Illinois, northwestern
Okay.
Illinois, Morrison, Illinois, and it was weird. There was at least Nirvana hit in 8th grade for us,
Yeah.
and that kind of made everybody go, "Oh, we can do this," and
Totally.
it was always a little behind there. Like, stuff culture trickled in slowly. There was no internet back then, so we had Rolling Stone. That's how I knew about everything in the world that was music, was just Rolling
Sure.
Stone. And then
Yeah.
MTV came along, at some point in there. And I think that's when that music revolution in Morrison started. And then it was just tons of, we played in my basement, we played in the garage, we played in buddies' barns.
Oh yeah.
Then you start getting hired for the school dances, and you play the same 10 songs 3 times in
Right.
in a row. But it kind of really took a turn. The church that I went to, that my parents took me to, went from the all-tech 4-knob mixer in the wall to, the first 8-channel Mackies.
Okay.
And Mackie back then had those weird manuals where they had like cartoons in them and kind of jokes.
Oh
Like
sure. Yeah.
they were trying to like, make it more palatable for street people to learn these things,
Right.
which is brilliant on their part. It's a
Totally.
great way. But that's kind of when it started being like, what is that? Like, what does an aux send do? And then the band I was in, more seriously, junior senior year, we had played enough gigs to save some money and drove over to a studio in North Liberty, Iowa. And being the drummer, as I was, you're done first, so you're in the back of the control room for 5 days watching.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then he was, getting closer to rough mixing, moving out of tracking mode, and flicked up aux 1 and reverb happened, and I was like, wait a minute. And this whole other world kind of opened up. It's a land of make-believe kind of, when
Totally.
you're deciding where things are placed in a mix, or where it goes. Or so that propelled me into a recording school right out of high school, a recording workshop in Ohio, Chillicothe, Ohio.
Okay.
It was perfect. 18 years old and going in and getting 6 weeks of the basics, and then they had an add-on maintenance course, which was amazing. I already knew how to solder, but getting into more of the audio side of electronics. My mom made switches and light up things for trainably mentally handicapped kids. There was always components
wow.
laying around the house.
Cool.
So there was like a basic like signal flow made sense at a
Sure.
young age. And then it's coming up, you just, it's like, I love signal flow. I love patching, which is weird to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like a beautiful web puzzle.
It really is. I mean, it is. If you know nothing about it, it's even beautiful. Just looking
Hmm.
at, oh man,
Yeah,
how did that all work together, and how
work
did that
together.
beautiful mind put that together?
Yeah, and then the other sides of it when you walk into a club or something, it's like trying to figure out what someone was thinking. Like,
Oh yeah,
okay,
yeah, I'm
what were
sure.
they trying to accomplish, and where the bodies buried?
Yeah, what did this psychopath do to his
Yeah.
station? That's amazing. So your mom made what was your what did you say your mom she made?
Like switches and light up things for trainably mentally handicapped students,
Oh wow,
so they could interact. And at least you if you hit something that lights up, it just kind of enhanced their lives
sure.
at that stage. And it was a very humbling experience. She would have me help out quite a bit. Special Olympics, and I spent a lot of my youth in service, either church or town stuff. Or my dad was a World War II vet, so
Wow,
we
okay.
always did Memorial Days. So service has always been a big part of the Clemson name. So
That's
it's
really
carried on
beautiful.
through life. Yeah, thank you.
I like that that started early too. You know, I think a lot of people
Very
have to
early, yeah.
learn that
Mhm.
as you get going and figure out that, you know, it's beautiful to lend a hand and help out, but to see
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
you know, so young how it shaped and then, you know, what a perfect way to, you know, to put that into practice now, you know,
Yeah.
with the clinic.
Absolutely, and this whole season has been again awareness and now fundraising because you have to have money to do things, um, but we've started helping people. We had probably had about 33 as we call say clients, and luckily it's been all the growth has been at a pace that we can handle it and make tweaks along the way, get systems in place early on. We've been so grateful that it was overwhelming through July, and then once August, it was like, okay, we're getting better at who we are,
Yeah,
as a clinic, as a group of people. Everybody's volunteering. So some of our West Coast friends who were helping out started getting gigs, TV stuff, AMAs and such,
sure, yeah.
and iHeart and things. So, it's weird to see kind of them leave the fire pit for a bit, as we call it, and then you kind of have that feeling of wow, we're on our own for a little bit. We have to do what has been working all summer with
Yeah.
four of us instead of six of us or eight of us. But yeah, no, the growth has been super super organic. And like now organizations are coming to us pitching what they can help us with, so
Beautiful.
that's kind of a nice position to be in going into 2021.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but yeah, so we've been able to help people along the way, and it's been the best part's been very personalized because we aren't overwhelmed. We can do one by one and
Yeah.
find a solution, and all of that, everything we've been doing has just been straight R&D because that's just how we think. It's like how can we put what we learned from this back into making it better when we have 20, 30, 40 people a day
Right.
on our kind of production line.
Yeah.
Not to put it in gross terms, but
Right.
um, no, that's been the most rewarding thing is the moment you kind of get someone some relief. And even if Courtney's the one who usually does these because she's so good at it. She's been up and down all of the services that are out there. She really took on this hub mentality from day one, where we don't want to reinvent anything that's already out there, i.e., backline.care. We've just linked up with the Sims Foundation, and all these people came kind of excited to be like, okay, we can speak into this, and you're taking part of it off our plate that we don't really
Sure.
want to specialize in, and we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's been great to have kind of that community of nonprofit help lift us up as well, in just helping us with mechanics of how to work.
Totally.
So it's just been it's such a good time to meet with humanity, because
Oh
on
man.
on tour you're with the person next to you for 2 years, your
Right.
tech or you're the guitar tech who's on your side of the stage, and up until this year I didn't really know more than six other monitor guys because we're all working, we're all out there.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, and I like that because you know, I, I always think about like anything with and I'm not putting your guys' company with
right,
with like a VIP company, right? But like,
yeah, yeah,
you know, I always think it's funny when they make a competition out of it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
there's millions of bands out there
Of
that
course.
need this service, and
Yes.
because one other company comes out and wants to do the same thing and like set these meet and greets and whatever
Hmm.
up, like
Hmm.
it's not stealing from you because like there's so many bands out there to do
Yeah.
this with,
Yeah.
and with you, with there's so many people that need this help. So,
Yes.
you know, the more of these organizations, the better.
That's
It's
it.
like
Yep.
celebrate each other, join with each
Yep.
other. It's like I'm
Exactly.
not stealing from you. I'm partnering with you. I'm helping you.
Enhancing. Yeah.
Like
There's too much work out there. I mean,
too much.
in this realm. I mean, just talking to all the other people, and especially in this time period. I mean, the first wave, March, April, of kind of that. Who are we? What are we doing? Confusion. People figure out. We're roadies. We figure it out. We get comfortable, and a lot of people made a lot of hard decisions.
Totally.
Moving out of the area they're in, or
Yeah.
pivoting to something you don't love, but it can keep you going. And that's what we do. And I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of work. There's a
Yeah.
lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of my friends struggle, which has been
Mm,
really tough, and
yeah.
but I've also seen a lot of people thriving.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of just unbelievable creativity and beauty come out of it, and I'm
Oh.
just going, that's what you do, man. Like
Hmm.
that is the beautiful thing about what we do is we show up
Yeah.
in a new arena, a new venue, a new whatever,
Anything.
every day, a field for God's sake,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
put up everything,
Yep.
and then we tear it down, and in the middle there, before we tear it down, we make it look really beautiful.
There's an event that happens,
Yeah,
and I mean, what other industries can you say? I mean, there's some out there, but majority. What other industries can you say like we deliver every night at 9 p.m. no
right.
matter what?
Yeah,
It's just. And
and
like you said, like think about moving your entire office to a new building that's 4 to 10 hours away, rebuilding it, and
yeah,
then performing your duty task, and then I got to tear it down and go to the next city.
yeah, and then we'll do it
Um,
again tomorrow in another
yeah,
country, and we'll have to
yes.
do a border crossing at 3 in the morning.
And in the meantime, you hit up the CBC to do an interview in the morning, and your band's
Right.
going to play two songs. Well, that takes two or three of the crew away to go do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and and it's not just like, oh, we put on these random events. It's like we put on
Yeah.
life-changing events for people.
Of course, you want people to forget about what's going on for 2 to 4 hours that night.
Yeah, which
So,
funny enough you say that. Like I ate my words so badly this year.
mm,
I was in Seattle right before everything got locked down and
mm,
everybody canceled, and
mm,
I was talking with another friend of mine who she does more festival work, but
mm,
I said, it was just when COVID was starting to, we started to hear more and more about it. And,
mm.
it was creeping into Seattle. And I was like, we're in entertainment. We're
Yeah,
good.
we're
We're going to be
good.
fine. People
Everybody goes to shows.
yeah, like you said, everybody needs to forget about something in their
Hmm.
life for a couple hours every night. So, entertainment, sports, we're
Yep,
fine. People
it's all
need
good.
that. It's all good. I've been saying that for the 16 years I've been in the industry.
Yeah,
And then I woke up to Live Nation, AG, blah, 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 cancel, like everything
big
shut. And I
drop.
was like, oh, damn.
Yeah, and then like the next thing of like, oh, agents are being let go. It's like, well,
Yeah,
that's the hardest thing to bring back. It's like all those relationships kind of
right.
gone. Years of building into this kind of pocket of what we know
Yeah,
entertainment to be, and yeah, it's weird to think about, and yet kind of after struggling through all the personal things, I feel like you said, hopefully beautiful that there's outcomes. It's not going to look like it used to. At least I hope not. I mean, we
right.
were as an industry, as a roadie industry, we were kind of down already before this happened, and now it's way down
Yeah,
in kind of quality of life.
totally.
So yeah, it's like you'd hate to just see this time period wasted.
Yeah. And, when I think about it, beyond all like massive testing and
Hmm.
all of the minor logistics, which are
Yeah.
insane to think about. I
Hmm.
what I
Hmm.
hope is, I mean, we all know the people,
Hmm.
love them, hate them, whatever.
Yeah.
The people
Yeah.
that 5 minutes into that tour are bitching and moaning and
Yes.
just angry,
Nothing's right.
and nothing ever goes the way they want it to. And
Yeah.
it's just the crusty old roadies, as we mostly call
Hmm.
them. And like, what I hope is when we do get back, and it will look different. I just hope that people are just so appreciative to be out there, that like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
little shit that normally you'd be like, ugh, I can't deal with it. It's like, I'm here, man. Like, we're doing
Yeah.
this again. So let's fix it. Let's, like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I had to take a year off, or
Yep.
however, that's
However you want to look at it.
who knows how long. I said year,
Hmm.
hopefully, but
Yep.
like, I hope people come back with this renewed sense of energy of like, maybe we needed to take a pause from doing what
Yes.
we did, because to get our mental health right, to get,
I knew
in
I did. I had. I mean, I can tell you kind of the day I burnt out. I looking back at, and I tell everybody like, how'd you get here? Well, baby cuts. My first band led to my second band, which led to my third band, and every time I was a little better than the gig,
yeah,
but not by much, enough to do it and realize, oh, I got to learn this, or else I'm gonna get my butt handed to me on the next step. But it was 20 years of baby cuts, and we never stopped. I mean, we just never stopped because you're like bringing it in so easy. It's just so much money. It's like,
right.
but always chasing it, and like somebody never seemed to stick as much as you could stack it up. It's like,
Yeah.
where did last year go?
Yeah,
I
where
don't know. So
yeah.
stopping has been the best thing ever. Kind of back to what you're saying about wandering the country. Now it's like I don't have to tear a project down because I'm taking up the kitchen table and I'm leaving tomorrow, and
Exactly.
maybe I'll be back in a month and be like, oh, what was I mixing this for?
Right.
So that's been great to be able to let projects simmer for a day or two. And like the last project I did, this video for Level Up Fest, which is next Wednesday, the 16th.
Oh yeah.
We did a little teaser video to show who we were and what we're doing. And it was a project that lasted 2 months. Not obviously working on it every day, but just
Right.
like thinking about some shots, going and getting them, coming back, throwing them in the timeline. And then like, you're sitting around that evening and something else pops up. And I've not had that experience before. I mean, everything I've done is, if it's not a tour, it's showing up that morning and making something happen that night for
Yeah.
the Roots or whoever it is that I was with, and you have one chance at it, and after that day's done, I love the weird gigs. I love the specialty,
Yeah.
like one-offs, whether it's a New York City fashion show or Eric Clapton's Guitar Fest, where the house mixer as the monitor guy mixing half the bands, and the other half the bands brought their own rig and stuff. But
Right.
it's like throw and go. You don't have time to go, hey, let's just tune the kick drum up a couple.
Right.
It's like, well, twist the knob until it sounds right, because that's all you have right
Yeah.
now. We have 15 minutes to get this band on and off sound check. So
Yeah.
it's just been a different way to think about it. I had such a toolbox for triaging quickly and working quickly and having an opinion quickly on what you're hearing in order to slap something on it to make it work for that day.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I mean, I've seen it across a lot of industries, but like my brother, for example, he was a chef and he
Mm.
had to leave Boston because it
Oh,
was so expensive. And he's,
yeah, burn rate.
yeah. And so they moved back to Atlanta, and
Hmm.
like, now he's getting to see his wife, and
Yeah.
he's playing music with a friend that he's known
uh,
since fifth grade, and they hadn't been able to play music together in over a decade.
of
And
course.
it's like all these massively crazy industries.
Hmm.
It's this nice pause of like, yeah, get back into your life and see what's important to you.
Yeah,
Like the
that's the word right
identity
there.
the identity that comes with touring of like, ooh, I am Nick
Mm.
Sheesby and I work for BAM.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
it's a cool thing to have, right? Of
Yeah.
course, what we do is awesome.
Super unique.
Yeah, very unique, and it keeps you coming back.
Hmm.
There's
Hmm.
nothing that I've found in life that's like it. But
No.
like I think it's been a good, if there's been good out of this year, if you can find the good, because I know a lot of
Hmm.
people are struggling massively as well.
Of course. Of
You
course.
know, it is that time to see your family, to spend that time that you didn't have before. I
Hmm.
mean, even like I said, my brother's a chef, and he just was in a kitchen 100 and some hours a week, and so he wasn't
Yeah.
seeing his wife, and she
Nope.
was going to school in the morning, and he was working late at night, and they just were ships in the night, and
Yeah. I know the
it
feeling.
was a burnout rate as well, and it's
Hmm.
if anything, I think it's really given some people some time to go, okay, what is my identity?
Yeah.
Who am I? What does this world look like to me now?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, and throw in the heaviness of the outcome of COVID around you, whether it's an
Oh
uncle or
yeah.
an aunt or a friend. I mean, we all know at least two people who've you know had it hard and
Yeah.
come back or not. And
Right.
it's hard for me to want to go sit in a rehearsal space for 16 hours
Right.
to wait for an artist
Yeah.
that comes late and putzes around with the entourage for another two. Like,
Right.
can we get back to doing work again, like making music and
Yeah.
making moments and not just prancing, if you want to call it that, or
Yeah.
posturing?
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I grew up in a farm community, and that's probably what helped those first bunch of years was, you're loading trucks and
Sure.
and getting after it and being able to have that stamina and the feeling of you still got to feed the cows at the end of the night, even if you're dragging butt. I mean,
Yeah.
it gets put into a different place, your soul, that this has to be accomplished. And then going into roading or into audio, it was just kind of the same thing of it's not over till the truck closes and pulls away.
Right.
No matter, I remember doing a gig in the Bahamas and it went so late and we had 4 containers on the back of the stage. It was a Clare rig and the hands they gave us were boat dock workers, which was
Oh wow.
awesome because you're
Yeah.
like, take that case over there, and they would pick it up 4 corner and carry. It's like, dudes, it's got wheels, but the stage was a little bumpy. They just did it their way.
Right.
So 20 dudes in the morning, and by 4 a.m. when the last band is kind of finishing up, um, they were all gone because they were all wasted. So
Right.
I mean, I saw a white glove front of house guy come and help me put speakers on the second row above the subs, with a ramp in the semi.
Yeah.
So it's in us that the gig has to be completed
Right.
to its fullest.
And in any way possible.
Yeah.
Like you make it
So
work.
yeah. So going back to kind of that work ethic of. And having come from some of the management side, I'm sitting there just tallying the money, sitting in the
Oh
room, and
man.
just like, there's better ways to do this,
Yeah.
you know.
So much money spent. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't say wasted, but so much
No,
money
spent.
spent
Yeah,
on
of
waiting.
course. You can say like, oh, people have jobs and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, I hope this period shows purpose over some of those metrics.
Yeah, I think it will.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've all, well, I don't know. I can't speak for everybody, but
Right,
I for
right.
sure learned lessons, and
Yes,
just if or whenever it comes back and whatever it looks like, I'll definitely have a new appreciation for it,
absolutely.
you know.
And maybe we'll gravitate towards the people we more resonate with, and
Yeah.
not go for the top, the highest, the best, the top. But
Right.
who do we jive with?
Yeah, and what's going to be good for me, and
Yeah,
not just
yeah.
monetarily,
No, not at all.
Yeah.
One of the
Um
people we helped out said that we're only useful to the artist until the last hoop is jumped through.
ooh.
And
Yeah.
this was an older. This is a roadie who'd been around much longer than I have, and it was just like, holy cow.
Yeah.
And some people can operate in that sphere. I can't. I have
Yeah.
to feel like I'm part of the team, and
Right.
building something that's not just going to be around tonight, but
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough I mean it's so true, but that's a tough one to hear of
yeah, yeah,
till that last hoop, and then it's like, "Yep, see you later."
See you later.
On to the
Yep.
next one.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, and I have 3 questions for you, and then I'll
Go for it.
let you get back to your day. But
Let's do it.
travel is something we all do a
Hmm.
lot of in this industry. But non-COVID times, and I know since we're in the States, we have massive restrictions right now. But
Right.
in a perfect world, well, not even perfect world, terrible way to say that. In a world where you can travel wherever you want, if I came up to you and I said, Paul, here's a ticket to anywhere, where are you going with that ticket?
Wow. I loved Tokyo the first time going there. It was with the Roots, so it was there. The Roots, when they travel, like they know the spots. Like
Yeah,
they kind of frequent the same. Now with the TV show, they frequent the same kind of circuit. We end up playing the same shows every year because there's only, they went from 200 and some years a year, 200 and some shows a year book to,
right.
the quantity, the supply and demand side of it. They went down to like what 48 shows a year we could do.
Yeah,
And so it's at that point, it's just kind of, hitting the same things that work with the schedule. But yeah, Tokyo the first time was pretty awesome. The sushi was incredible.
yeah.
Just seeing how people lived and like there's more of a trust among the fabric. Like you can leave your laptop on a table and go
Mm.
refill your coffee, and it's going to be there when you come back.
Yeah.
Um, just kind of tapping it. It felt very new old, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Like people living a reality that's steeped in a past.
Yeah.
Um,
I've
that would be, I think that'd be the first spot because it feels so far away right now. Not
oh
just
man,
distance, but
absolutely.
space and time.
Yeah, I've not been, but Japan's high on my list. And actually,
Mm,
I would say more often than not, when I ask people that question, that is the answer.
hmm
Is Japan.
hmm Something different in the water over there.
Yeah, and my partner, her aunt and uncle and 2 children, just moved to Japan outside of Tokyo. Her aunt
Mm-hmm.
is Japanese, and her uncle speaks Japanese, and
Mm.
her niece and nephew are fluent in Japanese, and it's so cool. Like
Wow, that's
she's getting
beautiful.
photos all the time of like just life over there in the last
Yeah,
2 months since they left, and it seems just like a utopia that
yeah,
I
yeah.
cannot wait to explore it. All right. And this one, what would you want the world to know about you?
Wow, that's a tough one. And you even sent these ahead of time. I saw it in the list. What would I want the world to know about me? I mean, coming off of the season of being very much exposed, promoting the clinic, um, I really do love everybody, even if there's something that comes between us mechanically in this earthly flesh. I, I don't. There's really no one I couldn't sit in the same room with and ask how they're doing
Yeah.
because it makes the relationship with myself so much better
Yeah.
because we're hardest on ourselves, really. I mean, if you think about how much you judge yourself in a day,
Oh
or
man.
even the world around you, like, oh, why is this guy not going? At the light.
Right.
The light changed.
Right.
Why is he not going? And you're not really mad at that person. It's just the circumstance that either you're running late, or I hate being late. I just hate being
Right.
late and unprepared. I don't know. It's just part of the you know what we do. But
Right.
the old oil spot. No, I think that's what it would be. Is just that I'm good with anybody who comes within arm's reach of myself.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I feel that I've never met you. This first time I've spoken with you, and I can feel that.
Oh,
I
thanks,
like
Nick.
that a lot, man.
Yeah,
All right. And if you had the ear of everybody in the world, what would you say to them?
let's all breathe.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like I didn't realize how shallow I breathed uh, in a day-to-day basis until the stoppage.
Mm-hmm.
And just getting that extra, like when you feel it go down to your belly button, when you breathe in, you get the whole diaphragm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just something about that I think we need more of. And then, it helps you smell better around you.
Yeah.
when you breathe that in, and that brings you kind of outside of your cranium, and you're aware of, uh, the flutter of a butterfly,
Yeah.
or the rustling of the grass, or a person's. The mask thing's been interesting because now we all have to. I don't know if we've evolved a bit into communicating with our eyes,
Right.
but I feel like I pay more attention to other people's emotions because you can only see their eyes.
Yeah.
Where before you kind of took like a general overview of their entire face.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I think it'd be just, let's all breathe deep a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, I was doing it as you were saying that.
It's
Because
funny how those type of things trigger. Like if I say don't look over there, you know what you're doing.
of course.
You're catching a glimpse of someone's naked butt that's running down the bus aisle.
Exactly. I mean, I remember, the second you said that, my mom was the worst at that. She would say like if there was we go to Florida on spring break and
Mm-hmm.
there'd be like a woman laying
Can't
there
take
with
women.
yeah, exactly. Like there'd be one with like her top untied so she could get her back tan, and my mom would be like,
Yeah.
don't look over there. There's a woman with her top off." And I'm like,
Is
"Come
it a
on."
generational thing? Because beings are beautiful.
Yeah.
Like,
I was like,
grandpa on the beach with a Speedo. Why not? If
yeah,
you can rock it, go for it.
even if you can't, man, own it.
Yeah. Own
Do
it.
it. Do you, man.
Yes.
Whatever. All right, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to
Oh, I'm
hang
so
out and
glad to be
chat.
on, Nick.
It's
Absolutely.
been a beautiful time, and I truly cannot wait till I can come up and
I cannot wait to
check
see you
out the
until you're walking
clinic.
through the doors of the
Oh
clinic.
man, I imagine there'll be tears of joy.
Yes, I'll be right there with you.
Well, all right, brother. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and again, thank you so much for spending time with me this morning.
You're welcome.
All right, brother.
Bye, Nick.
See you.